bookish baddies. Hello, bookish friends. It's your girl, Brandon Nikhil, the bookish baddie, back with another video. It's been a while, but it's time to get back to it. So I have been reading a lot of really good books in the second half of the year. A lot of really great thrillers. I really enjoyed The Favorite Girl. I really enjoyed, I think it's called
Not you. No, kill for me. I kill for you. Something like that.
Steve Kavanaugh. It was really good. I've been cycling through these thrillers like crazy, and almost everything I've read has been really good. So, really good books. But the one I'm here to talk to you about today is called FantasticLand by Mike Bakovin. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I just finished it today, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. Hence why I had to take some notes in my commonplace notebook. I'll talk to y'all about this notebook later. But I had to take some notes because I didn't want to miss anything because it was so good. So good. So the book is like almost a documentary style book. It is fiction and it does tell a story, but it tells it through a series of interviews. So the setting is Florida. It's an amusement park. I think it's in like the Daytona Beach area, down in that area. There's an amusement park called FantasticLand, and FantasticLand is like a series of different parks all in one. So it's like you've got like the Pirate Cove, you've got, you know, Fairyland, you've got the circus area, and then I think there's one more. So it's like 4 different areas, and then like there's like a golden road in the middle of it where all the shops are, and it's like a really cool thing, like a competitor to Disney, if you will. And there is a hurricane coming, but typically they're not hit by hurricanes, so they're not too worried. And then at the last minute, they get notice that like, hey, you guys are about to be hit pretty hard. You need to go ahead and, you know, shut down. So they shut the park down, and several hundred of the employees decide to stay behind to just man the park, make sure their property's not damaged, etc. Nobody breaks in during the hurricane or after the hurricane, whatever. So they go to it. They have a shelter. They've got plenty of food, plenty of water, all of that. But things start to very quickly go awry. And when I say things are going awry, I mean in a horror type way. So I don't feel like this is a spoiler because I'm pretty sure if you read the back of the book, it's going to tell you this. But the employees start to like group up, click up, and violence starts to happen in the park. Extreme violence. And it's told again through a series of different interviews, and so you're reading it from the different perspectives of people of all different ages, of all genders, people in different parts of the park. And it is one of the most chilling, most disturbing, most thought-provoking books that I've read in a while. And here are a few of the thoughts that I had. So first of all, it gave me a greater understanding of disaster relief. I have lived in Michigan, I've lived in California, and I've lived in Georgia. California obviously is prone to earthquakes, but I never experienced one. So I haven't really lived in a place where natural disasters were common, like hurricanes or tornadoes, things like that. And so I just am not very familiar with disaster relief. And one thing that the author says in the book is that in disaster relief recovery, they go in understanding that you want to make the biggest impact in helping people, but you understand that you can't save everybody and that some people will die. And I've just never thought about that. It makes sense because in a natural disaster, like you likely will have some casualties. But when you think about it in that way, it's like, so we may know that there are people here that need help, but it might be 10 of them and there's 100 people over here that need help. So we're going to go help the 100 and the 10 will have to wait and hopefully they're still good, but we understand that they may not be. And that was just like, oh my God, that I don't know why that like hit me in my core, but I'm just like, man, understanding that like, hey, we will have to make the decision to let some people potentially die to save others was just a harsh reality. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, just get more help, get more disaster relief. But it's like there's a finite amount. There's not unlimited disaster relief available, right? So that was one of the big takeaways that I had from the book, was just understanding more about that. And additionally, just to go along with that is this idea of like have not because you ask not, right? And so we hear that all the time. but it really rang loudly as a theme in this book because one of the reasons, so I forgot to say this, but they ended up being in the park for like 30 plus days, these people. And keep in mind, just to give you some context, amusement parks are typically mostly manned by, or they typically employ a lot of teenagers, so people 18, 19, home from college or in between high school and college, and they go spend the summer there. They live in the dorms and they work the rides, they work the gift shops, they work the concessions. And so this is mostly, probably 80 or 90% of the people that are in this story are teenagers. They're fairly young. And sorry, I kicked my tripod. But anyways, they're fairly young, and this is like their first experience of independence. So that's important to keep in mind. But anyways, they were there for like 30 plus days. And part of the reason why is because it seemed as if they didn't need help. So they didn't have phones or a way to contact anybody. But the leadership of the park, who weren't actually there, they knew like there's enough food and water for them for a long time. They'll be good. They have everything that they need. And also they weren't like waving signs that said help or anything. So when the helicopters are going by, they're like, okay, they're good. We can focus on other disaster relief, and we'll get to them, as a lower priority pretty much. And it just makes me think like how often we as humans are not speaking up when we have a need, or we're too scared to give off the vibe that we need help or that we're struggling. And so we don't, and then we don't get the help, and then we struggle because we didn't get the help. And in this case, it was a matter of life or death for a lot of people. And a lot of times it's a matter of life or death for us, and we're still not asking for the help that we need. So that rang clear for me, and I was like, okay, that's a takeaway for me. What was it, Damon Wayans' message? Period. Um and okay, let's see. What people will do if no one is watching. So because of, the storm and what they could get to, these people did not have their phones. And if they did have a phone, they didn't have like internet connection, or the phone died because they had no power to charge their phones, etc. And so there's no connection to the outside world. There's no social media. And it really was a testament to understanding who you would be if no one's watching. There's no power structures, there's no police, there's nobody to punish you or tell you no or to stop you. And so it makes you think like who you try to put yourself in these positions of these people, because obviously, some people are committing violence, some people are hiding, some people are trying to stop the violence, some people are, just off doing their own thing. And so it makes you think, if no one is watching, what role do I play? Who am I in the world if nobody's watching? And so I thought that was a really clear question and theme in this book. And one of the quotes that I highlighted was, "There's a lot of dark around here with no power." Now, obviously, they were talking both literally and figuratively because they didn't have any power. Like, so yeah, it's actually dark. But there's also a lot of darkness when there's no power structure, when there's no consequences for actions. Because some people, and especially when you think about like teenagers, because of where you are in your emotional and mental development, like there has to be some structure. That's important. And when there's not, it can get real dark, because everybody is not morally sound because they want to be. They are because they feel like they have to be, right? So that was really good to me. And it also brought up this concept of extremes. And so with the election, which I'm very disappointed in the results of, so if you don't agree with that, maybe you can see yourself out. But anyways, in the most recent election, I think we've seen a battle of an extremist versus a realist, and the extremist won. And the person with the extreme personality and the radical beliefs won. And sometimes in a situation of crisis, extremes do win. And that can be detrimental to all, because in crisis, I think people are looking for the person that's yelling the loudest, the person with the biggest, most grandiose plan, because you're looking to hold on to something. And I think that's what happened in this book, is that people were afraid, people were in unprecedented times, they didn't know what to do. And so the leader that emerged was one that had evil intent, but because he emerged and he spoke the loudest and he had the craziest plan, people were like, okay, well, we need to do something, so let's go with what he's saying. And it was to their detriment for sure. And also, lastly, I think one of the big themes was stepping up and intervening, speaking up and doing something when you see evil. And so at the end, they interviewed the leader who emerged, who caused a lot of the chaos. And one thing he said when they asked him like why he had done this, and he was like, why didn't anybody stop me? And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, I'm not like a particularly like huge guy, I didn't have guns, like why, it could have took 2 men to overpower me. Why did nobody step up and stop me from doing what I was doing? Now, that's no justification for what he was doing. Let's start there. But also, a lot of times we're passing the buck and asking, when's somebody going to do something? Somebody needs to do something. Somebody needs to stop this. Sometimes that somebody needs to be you. How can you organize? How can you, rally and contribute to stopping any evil that you're seeing in the world? So this was a really good book, and I felt like the themes and the messaging was so powerful and so strong that I had to make a video about it, because I need this to be evergreen. I need, if somebody's thinking about reading this book, I need them to listen to this video and say, yes, I'm going to read the book. Again, it's got some trigger warnings. You can go online and find exactly what they are. It was deep, it was dark, it was intense, but it was very good. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10, no notes. Okay, until next time, bye.